I have here the toxicology report, which shows there are a staggering 9 different prescription drugs in Elvis's body at the time of his death.
For decades, the official story of Elvis Presley's passing seemed settled, a tragic end to a legendary life. Until recently, when investigators reopened his case, digging into files long sealed from the public, what they uncovered wasn't anything normal. Confidential reports, erased testimonies, and one mysterious letter point to a truth no one was meant to see. Every page revealed a new piece of evidence that someone worked hard to bury. The deeper they went, the more the truth twisted out of control. Join us as we uncover the secret of Elvis's end that has been hidden for over 50 years. Elvis Presley's mysterious demise. On a hot summer day in Memphis, Tennessee, something happened that would shake the entire world. August 16, 1977 started like any normal day at Graceland, the famous mansion where Elvis Presley lived. The king of rock and roll was just 42 years old. That very day, he had plans to fly to Portland that night for another concert tour. His fans were excited to see him perform again. But nobody knew that before the sun set that day, Elvis would be gone forever. Around 2 in the afternoon, Elvis went upstairs to his private bathroom. His girlfriend Ginger Alden was sleeping in the bedroom. She woke up hours later and noticed Elvis was not in bed. She called out his name but got no answer. When she walked into the bathroom, she found him lying face down on the thick carpet floor. His body was cold and stiff. Ginger screamed for help and ran to call for an ambulance. The staff at Graceland rushed upstairs in panic. The ambulance arrived within minutes. The paramedics tried everything they could to save him, performing emergency procedures right there in the bathroom. Then they quickly moved Elvis onto a stretcher and rushed him to Baptist Memorial Hospital. Doctors worked hard to revive him, but it was too late. At 3:30 in the afternoon, Elvis Presley was pronounced unalive. The news spread across America within hours. Radio stations stopped their regular programs to announce the tragedy. People could not believe what they were hearing. The official report came out soon after. Doctors said Elvis passed away from a heart attack. They explained that years of prescription pill use had damaged his heart. Elvis had been taking many different medications for pain, sleep problems, and other health issues. The medical examiner listed the cause of death as cardiac arrhythmia. This means his heart suddenly stopped beating in a normal way. The report also mentioned that Elvis had gained a lot of weight and was in poor physical condition. People accepted the explanation without question, but some things about that day did not make sense. The timeline had strange gaps that nobody could explain. Why did it take so long for someone to find Elvis? How much time actually passed between when he went to the bathroom and when Ginger found him? The staff members gave different answers when asked about what happened. Some said they saw Elvis earlier in the day. Others claimed they had not seen him since the night before. These small details did not match up with each other. Elvis's father, Vernon, was heartbroken and confused. He had seen his son just the day before. Elvis seemed tired but not sick enough to pass away suddenly. Vernon wondered why the doctors had not warned the family about how serious Elvis's health problems were. He asked to see all the medical records and autopsy reports. When he finally received the documents, he noticed that some pages were missing. Other sections had been blocked out with black ink. Vernon wanted answers, but nobody would give him clear information. The funeral happened 2 days later at Graceland. Thousands of fans lined the streets outside the mansion. They cried and held signs with messages for their beloved Elvis. Inside, the family held a private service. They buried Elvis in a white suit next to his mother Gladys in the meditation garden. The world mourned the loss of a legend. Magazines and newspapers printed special editions about his life and career. Everyone talked about how Elvis had changed music forever. Years passed, and the official story remained the same. Elvis passed away from heart problems caused by too many prescription pills. Although most fans believed this sad truth, a small group of people never stopped asking questions. They studied every detail about that August day. They collected newspaper articles and interviewed people who worked at Graceland. These researchers found more things that did not add up. They discovered that the original investigation had been rushed and incomplete, and also, important evidence had been ignored or lost. Family members kept their doubts private for many years. They did not want to cause more pain or start rumors, but deep inside, they knew something was wrong about the official explanation. Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie, grew up hearing whispers and secrets. Why the case was reopened. Almost 50 years had gone by since Elvis Presley passed away. New generations of fans discovered his music and fell in love with his story. Meanwhile, technology had advanced in amazing ways. Forensic science could now solve mysteries that were impossible to crack in the past. DNA testing, computer analysis, and digital reconstruction changed how investigators looked at old cases. Cold cases from decades ago were being reopened and solved. This gave hope to people who had questions about Elvis's demise. In 2024, the Memphis Police Department received an anonymous letter. Someone mailed a thick envelope filled with documents and photographs. The sender did not include a name or return address. Inside were copies of papers that had never been seen before. These documents appeared to be original notes from the medical examiners who worked on Elvis's case. The handwriting was faded but still readable. The notes contained information that contradicted the official autopsy report. They described findings that were never mentioned to the public or the family. The police did not know what to do with this information at first. They worried the documents might be fake. Someone could have created them as a hoax to get attention. The department sent the papers to experts who studied old documents and handwriting. After months of careful examination, the experts confirmed something shocking. The documents were real. They had been written in 1977 by people who actually worked on Elvis's autopsy. This meant someone had hidden these papers for almost 50 years. Now that person wanted the truth to come out. At the same time, a group of forensic pathologists had been studying Elvis's case for years. These doctors specialized in determining how people's lives ended. They had read every available report about Elvis's demise and noticed many errors and inconsistencies in the original investigation. The autopsy had been performed too fast, leaving out some important tests. The toxicology report showed strange results that did not match the official conclusion. These experts believed that modern science could finally reveal what really went wrong. They contacted the authorities and offered to help reopen the case. Pressure also came from an unexpected source. A documentary filmmaker had spent 5 years interviewing people who knew Elvis in his final days. She talked to bodyguards, musicians, doctors, and friends. Many of them told her things they had never said publicly before. Some admitted they had been threatened or paid to stay quiet. Others said they had tried to speak up in 1977, but nobody would listen to them. The filmmaker compiled hundreds of hours of interviews. She created a detailed timeline that showed major problems with the official story. The medical examiner's office in Memphis faced growing criticism. Researchers had obtained copies of the original autopsy report through legal requests. When they studied the document carefully, they found pages were numbered incorrectly. Page 7 jumped to page 10. Pages 8 and 9 were completely missing. Nobody could explain where those pages went or what information they contained. The report also had entire paragraphs covered with thick black marker. These redactions had been done before the report was released to Elvis's family. Why would investigators hide information from the people who needed it most? Another strange detail emerged about the timeline of Elvis's demise. The official record stated that Elvis was found at 2 in the afternoon, but phone records from Graceland showed that emergency calls were made much earlier in the morning. Staff members had called doctors and asked for help around 9 o'clock. If this was true, then someone found Elvis hours before Ginger Alden claimed she discovered him. Those missing hours became a crucial piece of the case. What happened during that time? Why did people lie about when Elvis was found? The final push came from advances in forensic technology. Scientists could now test old tissue samples and find traces of substances that were undetectable in the past. They could recreate crime scenes using computer programs. They could analyze photographs and discover details that human eyes would miss. The Memphis authorities realized they had a chance to solve this mystery once and for all. They could use modern tools to examine old evidence, interview witnesses who were still alive, and compare their stories to the physical proof. By the middle of 2024, the district attorney made an official announcement. The Elvis Presley case would be reopened as a cold case investigation. A special team of detectives and forensic experts would review all the evidence. They would track down anyone who had information about what happened. Shocking discoveries. The hidden files. The investigation team started their work by gathering every document related to Elvis Presley's demise. They searched through old filing cabinets in basement storage rooms. They found boxes that had not been opened in decades. Inside were original photographs from the scene at Graceland. These pictures had never been released to the public or shown to the family. The images revealed details that contradicted the official story. The bathroom where Elvis was found looked different from how it had been described. Some things that should have been there were missing from the photos. The medical records proved to be the most shocking discovery. The anonymous letter had been accurate. When investigators compared the official autopsy report to the hidden notes, they found major differences. The original examiner had recorded levels of substance in Elvis's blood and organs, but those numbers did not match what was later reported to the public. The actual amounts were much lower than what officials claimed. This meant that prescription pills might not have been the main cause after all. The numbers were altered to support a specific conclusion. The toxicology tests revealed another disturbing fact. Elvis's body contained traces of a dangerous substance that was not listed on any of his prescriptions. This chemical was not something a doctor would give to a patient for normal medical reasons. The substance was rare and difficult to obtain. Forensic experts recognized it immediately. They knew it could cause symptoms that looked like a heart attack. The original medical examiners had found this chemical during their tests, but someone ordered them to remove it from the final report. The discovery raised an obvious question. How did this substance get into Elvis's body? Investigators tracked down witnesses who had been at Graceland in the days before Elvis passed away. Many of these people were now elderly, but their memories remained sharp. They described strange events that nobody had taken seriously at the time. Several staff members remembered seeing unfamiliar people at the mansion. These visitors came late at night and met with Elvis privately. They were not friends or business associates. Nobody knew who they were or why Elvis was meeting with them. The meetings always ended with Elvis looking upset and worried. One former bodyguard finally told his complete story. He had been working security at Graceland on August 15th, the day before Elvis passed. Late that night, he saw 3 men in dark suits arrive at the mansion. They did not use the front entrance. Instead, they came through a side door that only staff members knew about. The bodyguard tried to ask who they were, but his supervisor told him to ignore them. The men stayed for about an hour. When they left, Elvis looked pale and shaken. The bodyguard wanted to check on him, but was ordered to stay at his post. In financial records, there's another layer to the mystery. Investigators obtained Elvis's bank statements from 1977. They found several large withdrawals in the weeks before his passing. Elvis had taken out hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. He did not tell his manager or accountant about this money. His friends said Elvis never carried large amounts of cash. He usually paid for things with checks or had other people handle money for him. Where did all that cash go? The withdrawal dates matched exactly with the mysterious late-night meetings at Graceland. The investigation team also discovered threatening letters that had been sent to Elvis. These letters were stored in a locked safe that belonged to Elvis's personal lawyer. After the lawyer passed away, his family found the safe and contacted the authorities. The letters contained specific warnings. They told Elvis to stop doing something or there would be serious consequences. The messages were typed on plain paper with no signatures, but forensic analysis of the paper and typewriter gave investigators important clues. Phone records from Graceland revealed a pattern that nobody had noticed before. In the final 2 weeks of Elvis's life, he received calls from the same unlisted number multiple times. The calls always came late at night. They lasted anywhere from 5 minutes to half an hour. Investigators traced the number to an office building in Washington. The building housed several government agencies and private companies. Finding out the exact caller would require more digging, but the link suggested that Elvis was involved in something much bigger than anyone had imagined. Investigators finally located the missing autopsy pages. A retired medical examiner had kept copies in his personal files. He came forward after hearing about the reopened investigation. The pages described injuries on Elvis's body that were never mentioned in the official report. The evidence of a possible crime had been deliberately hidden from everyone. The cover-up begins to unravel. As the investigation continued, more people started coming forward with information. a former assistant medical examiner agreed to speak after keeping silent for decades. She had been young and new to her job in 1977. She assisted with Elvis's autopsy and took detailed notes during the procedure. After the examination ended, her supervisor called her into his office. He told her that powerful people were watching the case closely. He said she needed to forget certain things she had seen. If she talked about those details, she would lose her job and never work in medicine again. The threat scared her so much that she stayed quiet for almost 50 years. The woman explained what really happened during the autopsy. The medical team had found clear signs that Elvis did not pass from natural causes. His heart showed some damage, but not enough to cause sudden death. The substance levels in his system were elevated, but not fatal. Most importantly, they found evidence that he had been given something that should not have been in his body. The chief examiner seemed disturbed by this discovery. He stepped out of the room to make a phone call. When he returned, he told the team to finish quickly and not document certain findings. Another key witness was a reporter who had covered Elvis's passing for a major newspaper. He had always felt that something was wrong with the official story. In the days after Elvis passed away, he tried to investigate deeper. He asked questions that made people nervous and requested to see the complete autopsy report. He wanted to interview the medical examiners directly, but his editor suddenly ended the story. The editor told him to stop digging and just report what officials said. The reporter later learned that the newspaper owner had received phone calls from important people, demanding that the investigation be dropped immediately. Investigators discovered that several key figures from that time had been paid large sums of money shortly after Elvis passed. Bank records showed unusual deposits into their accounts. The amounts were significant for that time period. The money came from accounts connected to shell companies. These fake businesses existed only on paper. Tracing the money back to its real source took months of work. Finally, investigators found links to a group of wealthy businessmen who had financial interests in Elvis's music catalog and image rights. The motive became clearer as more information emerged. Elvis had been planning to make major changes to his business deals. He wanted to fire his manager and take control of his own career. He had discovered that people around him were stealing money and making decisions without his permission. Elvis had hired a team of lawyers to help him break free from the contracts. Several powerful people stood to lose millions of dollars if Elvis succeeded. They had spent years building their wealth on his success. They could not allow him to take that power away. Witnesses described how pressure was applied to keep people mute. Staff members at Graceland were told they would be fired if they talked to reporters. Some received direct threats against their families. One bodyguard who tried to speak up about the suspicious circumstances found himself arrested on false charges. The charges were dropped after he agreed to sign a statement saying he would not discuss Elvis's demise publicly. These tactics worked for decades because people were genuinely afraid of what might happen if they told the truth. Medical examiners faced pressure to reach a specific conclusion quickly. The authorities wanted Elvis's demise ruled as natural causes within hours. They didn't want a long investigation that might uncover uncomfortable truths. The examiners were told that dragging out the process would cause problems for Elvis's family and fans. They were reminded that their careers depended on cooperating with important people. Most of them gave in to this pressure. The few who resisted found themselves transferred to different jobs or pushed out of their positions entirely. The cover-up extended beyond Memphis. Federal agencies had files on Elvis that they refused to release. Investigators made formal requests under Freedom of Information laws. However, the agencies responded by saying the files contained sensitive information related to national security. This seemed absurd for a rock and roll singer. But interestingly, Elvis had actually worked with federal agents on certain projects. He had volunteered to help with investigations into illegal substance trading. He had traveled to other countries and reported back on what he saw. This connection meant that powerful people in government had reasons to control the narrative about his passing. The people behind this scheme had resources and connections that made them nearly untouchable. They believed they had buried the truth forever, but they made one critical mistake. They assumed that everyone could be controlled or scared into silence. They did not anticipate that decades later, people would find the courage to speak up. They never imagined that new technology would expose their lies. Now their carefully constructed cover-up was falling apart piece by piece. How this changes everything. The complete truth about Elvis's final days painted a picture that shocked even experienced investigators. Elvis had not succumbed to heart problems caused by prescription pills. He had been ended by people who wanted him gone. The chemical found in his body had been administered either during the evening of August 15th or early morning of August 16th. Someone Elvis trusted had given it to him, maybe mixed into food or drink. The chemical worked slowly, causing symptoms that resembled a heart attack. By the time Elvis collapsed in his bathroom, it was too late for him. This revelation changed everything about how the world understood Elvis's end. For nearly 50 years, people believed he had lost his life due to his own poor choices. They thought his addiction to prescription pills had taken his life. Many fans felt disappointed that their hero had such a tragic and preventable end. Some people used his demise as a warning about the dangers of substance use. His story became a cautionary tale about fame and excess. But now, everyone knew the truth. Elvis had been eliminated. He was a victim, not someone who caused his own demise through reckless behavior. And so Elvis's legacy transformed overnight. He was no longer seen as a troubled star who could not handle the pressures of fame. Instead, he became a martyr who lost his life because he tried to stand up for himself. He had fought against people who were using him and stealing from him. He had wanted to control his own life and career. That courage cost him everything. Fans around the world mourned him all over again. But this time they mourned differently. They felt anger at the people who had taken him away, and also felt pride that Elvis had been brave enough to fight for what was right. The legal implications were heavy, even though so much time had gone. Many people involved in the cover-up were still alive. Prosecutors began building cases against them. Charges included conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and being accessories to the crime. Some of the accused were now very old and in poor health, but the law said they could still be held accountable for their crimes. The trials would be complicated because much of the evidence was old. Key witnesses had passed away, but investigators believed they had proof, enough to win convictions. Justice for Elvis might finally be served. The case also raised questions about other suspicious celebrity cases. People started looking at similar situations where famous people passed away suddenly and the investigations seemed rushed or incomplete. The Elvis case proved that even the most famous cases in American entertainment history could be surrounded by lies. It showed that corruption could reach into the highest levels of government and business. This realization made people demand better investigations into other questionable cases. Forensic experts began reviewing cases of other celebrities who ended under mysterious circumstances. They applied modern technology to old evidence. They interviewed witnesses who had been ignored or dismissed decades earlier. Some of these new investigations revealed disturbing patterns. The same types of suspicious details appeared again and again. Rushed autopsies, lost documents, witnesses who were silenced. The Elvis case had opened a door that led to many dark rooms. Society would have to confront truths about how justice worked for the rich and powerful compared to others. For Elvis's family, the truth brought a complicated mix of emotions. They felt free because their suspicions had been correct all along. They were relieved to know that Elvis had not caused his own end through use of pills, but they also felt fresh grief. Learning that someone was behind all of it reopened old wounds. Lisa Marie Presley had passed away just 1 year before the truth emerged. She never got to see her father's name cleared. Her children now carried the burden of this knowledge. They had to process the fact that their grandfather was targeted by people he thought were his friends. The impact on Memphis and Graceland was significant. The mansion where Elvis passed away became more than a tourist attraction. It was now the scene of an unsolved crime that had finally been exposed. Visitors came to pay their respects with a new understanding of what happened there. The meditation garden where Elvis was buried became a place of reflection about justice and truth. The city of Memphis had to acknowledge that its most famous resident had been failed by the very institutions meant to protect him. This led to reforms in how such investigations were conducted. The entertainment industry also faced backlash. Elvis's demise had been connected to business disputes and money. How many other artists were being exploited by managers, record labels, and other powerful figures? Were there other cover-ups that had been successful? How many powerful figures had literally gotten away with crimes because of their money and connections? The case sparked conversations about protecting performers from the people who claimed to work for them. New laws were proposed to give artists more control over their careers and finances. Industry practices that had existed for decades were suddenly questioned and challenged. Elvis's demise became a catalyst for change that reached far beyond his own story. Fans who had spent years researching Elvis's passing finally received acknowledgement. They had been called conspiracy theorists and dismissed as people who could not accept reality. Now everyone knew they had been right to keep asking questions. Their dedication to finding the truth had contributed to justice being served. The Elvis fan community organized memorials and events to honor both Elvis and the researchers who never gave up. They created scholarships in his name to support young people studying forensic science and criminal justice. From tragedy and lies, something positive emerged. The truth had the power to change history and inspire hope for a more just future. In the end, the truth about Elvis Presley's final hours rewrote history. It turned sorrow into strength, mystery into meaning, and pain into purpose. His story was no longer about downfall, but about betrayal. Justice had spoken, and Elvis finally received the peace he was denied. Do you think some of Elvis Presley's staff members may be directly involved in his demise? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.